2025 is finally here. Hey guys, Caleb here from CDBS Studios, and we are finally here, 2025. And with the new year means new movies. This is actually part two of my two-part series of closing out the 2024 year of movies. As in my last video, I talked about my favorite movies of 2024, and in this video, I'm going to be discussing my top 10 most anticipated movies for 2025. Couple disclaimers before we get going. This list is totally my own opinion and based on the movies that I am most looking forward to watching this next year. And most of these movies are movies I'm really expecting to be really good, or movies that I'm just really excited to see. I will admit I am planning to see more movies than just these 10. This is just the list of if I had to narrow down my list to only 10 movies I can watch this year. These are the 10 that these are the 10 that I would pick. But without further ado, let's hop in to the list. Starting off the list at number 10, I have a bit of an interesting pick, a Minecraft movie. Now, this might be an interesting pick for most people, as if you've seen any of the trailers or just been on the internet for the last couple of months, this movie has been torn to shreds. And in fact, the reason I'm actually excited for the Minecraft movie is actually the opposite reason I'm excited for every other movie on this list. Every other movie on this list, I'm excited for because I think it has a chance to be really good and maybe one of the best movies of the year. The Minecraft movie, I'm actually expecting to be one of the worst movies of the year. Just from everything they've released when it comes down to the CGI, the acting, and just the way that they're doing Minecraft on the big screen, it all looks like this movie's going to be so bad that it's going to be one of those movies that we're talking about for years because it just isn't a good movie. But I think that's kind of why I'm excited to see it, as one of the other movies that have been bad, things like that we've ripped on, Morbius and things like that. I was actually excited for those movies, and I'm even excited for them after because they're just one of those fun movies that I can go with to the movies with my friends, and where the joke in and of itself is that the movie's bad, but we're having a good time watching it. That's kind of what this movie looks like it's going to be. It's going to be maybe not the best when it comes to filmmaking, but it looks like it's going to be a good time at the movie theater. And there are some redeeming qualities about that. The prop department looks like they did an amazing job with all the props and making it look really good. And I can already tell this movie's going to have some really good meme ability. So that's the reason why the Minecraft movie slips into my number 10 spot. But I understand this might be controversial. But like I said, I don't think it's going to be the best movie of the year. But I think it has a chance to be one of the most entertaining movies of the year. At number 9, I have Henry Danger, the movie. I grew up loving the Henry Danger series. I think it's one of the better children's sitcoms that came out of that era where every company wanted to make those for TV. There was just something about the Henry Danger show that made it funny to the point where I still watched it and laughed at it even through my late teen years. And I just loved watching that show. The characters were all enjoyable. The sets were actually pretty decent for a children's sitcom. And just in general, the show was really enjoyable. And the fact that it hooked me from when I was a young child all the way until I was basically through high school means that they did something right. And this year we're getting a movie based on the characters, which is going to be really fun because we haven't seen the Henry Danger character in so long, because he popped in for a couple times during the Danger Force spinoff, but it was mainly just for like 1 or 2 episodes, I think. So getting a whole movie based on him seems like it's going to be really interesting. In fact, from the trailer that they actually recently released, it looks like it actually has a really good chance to be better than the Thunderins movie they released last year, as they kind of are aging up Henry Hart and kind of making him, they're kind of gearing this movie more towards actually my audience, the audience that grew up with Henry Danger and are the most excited to see him back again on the big screen. They're bringing back most of the original cast from the show, and just everything in general makes this movie look like it's going to be basically Henry Danger back and in a whole new way. So I'm really excited for the Henry Danger movie, but I have had to put it kind of low because I think there's just other movies I think have a chance to be way better. And this is just one of those TV movies that I'm going to tune into because I love the Henry Danger character, but I don't think it's going to be the best movie of the year. So I can't put it too much higher on my list for those specific reasons. At number 8, I have Tron Ares. I am a huge fan when it comes to the Tron franchise. Of course, I played the original video game, and the original Disney movie from all the way back might not have the best CGI to ever exist, but it's still a really good, enjoyable movie. And it's one of the first films I think I ever actually watched on the big screen. Mainly Tron Legacy, I mean. And I actually really enjoyed Tron Legacy. I know Tron Legacy was not looked upon fondly by a lot of people. I really enjoyed it, and it was one of my favorite movies for a long time. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Tron once again on the big screen because I just think if it done right, it has a chance to be a really cool movie. This movie, though, comes low on the list because we also just don't know much about it. Like, I don't think we have a poster, we don't have a trailer. The most we know is that Jared Leto is in it and that the movie is about the AI of the Tron game coming into the real world, or at least that's the rumored plot. So it looks like that's going to be roughly what the movie's about. But that's also why I can't be super excited for it as I want to, because while I love Tron and I'm excited to get a new Tron movie, I don't know enough about the movie to be like, oh, I think I'm going to love that, or, oh, maybe I'm going to skip that and wait for it on Disney Plus. So, sorry, Tron, I can't put you too much higher because, well, you're one of those unknown movies for this next year. At number 7, I have Now You See Me 3. We're getting a new Now You See Me this year, and I loved the previous two Now You See Me's. While, once again, they're not the best films out there, they are really cool seeing the magic tricks that the characters pull off. The characters are all very likable, and the story itself is actually a pretty good package across the two films. But, very similar to Tron Ares, I can't put Now You See Me 3 very high on the list because we just don't know anything about it yet. In fact, we don't even have a rumored plot like we do for Tron Ares. So Now You See Me 3 is kind of in that limbo of we don't have a poster, we don't have a trailer, we don't have a plot summary, we don't even have really the character list. The most we know is that most of the actors that have done the first two movies are coming back to do the next one. So that's the main reason I can't put Now You See Me 3 super high on the list because we don't know anything about it. But if I had to count which movies I'm most excited for this year, I'm just really excited to get a new Now You See Me movie. So I think that's why it kind of beats Tron Ares for me, even though we know more about Tron Ares technically. So, good job, Now You See Me. You take the number 7 spot, but it's also with a grain of salt because we just don't know anything about you. So, at number 6, I have Megan 2.0. I really enjoyed the first Megan film when it came out. It seemed like a more modern take on the Child's Play franchise, which is one of my favorite horror franchises of all time. So that was really fun. The acting in the original was really good. The comedy really landed for me. And when the movie needed to get gory and serious, the movie got gory and serious, which was really cool. Like, there's a scene in that movie where the Megan doll literally rips off a child's earlobe. So that's kind of the movie we're dealing with. So I'm really looking forward to getting a new Megan film, and it seems like from the couple things they've released that the movie looks like it's going to be a dark, more grittier kind of film. And when you look at the Child's Play films, which are kind of in a way what I see is like the parallel to the Megan films, the Child's Play films slowly got darker as the series went on. So I'm really hoping that the Megan films can kind of follow the same track because I really enjoyed that first one. But once again, I can't put this movie too high on the list because this is one of those movies for next year we don't know a ton about. We just have a couple things here and there that we think are going to happen and some things that we've theorized about. But this is, again, one of those films that we don't really know much about. But I'm a huge fan of horror films. I loved the first film, so that's why this film takes number 6 on my list. At number 5, I have Five Nights at Freddy's 2. I am a huge fan of the Five Nights at Freddy's video games. I played them growing up, and I was part of that prime era of the franchise where everybody was theorizing about what the games meant, and we were all playing them, we were getting scared of them, and I just really was part of the golden era of FNAF. And when the movie came out, I actually went to see it on Halloween with my friends when it first came out, and we just had a blast. Kind of similar in the same track as kind of what I described the Minecraft movie as being. It's not the best film out there, but it's a really good guilty pleasure movie, as I think it was kind of this really fun idea to take all these corners of the franchise, blend them together, and kind of make a really enjoyable story. And all the things they've been releasing about this new movie make it look really, really good. The animatronics look like they're going to be really fun, especially the animatronic designs were one of the best parts of the original movie. They're bringing back most of the original characters, and we're getting, of course, this movie is based on the second game. So everything that looks like that looks like it's going to happen in this new movie looks like it's going to be pretty good or better than the first movie. So I'm really excited for getting a second FNAF movie. But once again, in the same vein as some of the other movies I mentioned on this list, we just don't know a ton about this movie, as they've released a couple tidbits here and there. Like there was the whole 4 pages of a script thing that they did last year, and they've been releasing a couple pictures of the animatronics, and they just teased things here and there. But once again, we don't have a trailer, we don't have a plot synopsis, so it's really hard to root for this movie in the way I really want to, because I can't really say I know exactly what this movie's going to be about. So I can't put this too much higher than number 5, but still, number 5, really, really good job. At number 4, I have Love Hurts. This is a new Ke Huy Quan and Ariana DeBose movie that is basically the premise that they've shown is that Ke Huy Quan plays this realtor who gets drawn back into this kind of mercenary life when his mob boss brother comes after him. So it looks like the story actually seems like a really fun idea, and the trailer they released actually looks really interesting of a movie. And when I look at the cast, I love Ke Huy Quan, so I'm really excited to see him in another movie. And I think there's just some other things. The action that they showed in the trailer looks really interesting. I think the premise is actually a really cool idea. So I'm really looking forward to this movie for a lot of different reasons. And it's actually good because this movie wasn't on my radar at all. The trailer recently crossed my feed the other day and I watched it and I was like, oh, I really think I'm going to enjoy that. So this movie is an action film starring one of my favorite actors. And it just seems like one of those movies in a while that actually has a really good premise behind it. So that's why this one takes number 4. The top 3 films, though, are just films that I'm really, really looking forward to more than anything. So Love Hurts, unfortunately, doesn't beat those. But I would say that number 4 is still not a bad spot. At number 3 is probably one of my biggest switch-ups of all. It's Thunderbolts. Now, when this movie first got announced all those years ago, I thought Marvel was out of their mind, as they're going to take all these C, maybe D-list superheroes that they've been introducing in these projects, and they're going to bring them all together to do Marvel's Suicide Squad. That seemed like the dumbest idea ever for a couple reasons, mainly because I hated Suicide Squad. It was one of my least favorite DCEU films, and some of the characters they were bringing in, I just didn't really think were that interesting. I think Taskmaster and Ghost were kind of weird inclusions. I liked Elena and Red Guardian and Winter Soldier, so I was really looking forward to that. And U.S. Agent is one of those middle characters where I'm not really sure how I feel about him, because I hate him in Falcon Winter Soldier, but I think he has a chance to be better in the future. And then the trailer came out, and this movie blew me away, as the trailer makes this movie look really, really cool as it's kind of meant to be Marvel's Suicide Squad, but it looks like they're taking a different tone that actually makes the movie look like a better version of Suicide Squad. And all the other things they've been releasing about how they did a lot of the stunts practically and they shot on location with minimal green screens. And this movie has suddenly turned around in my vision. It seemed like probably one of the better MCU films in recent years, as this movie is actually bringing back a couple characters I really enjoy and giving kind of this redemption arc to some of the characters I didn't enjoy. And we're getting to see some more real Marvel action again. So this movie actually flipped really badly after that trailer, where I hated the idea of this movie, and then the trailer came out and suddenly I loved it, which is kind of what most of the internet is like right now. So that's why this film has just recently took my number 3 spot, which means that, hey, I have another Marvel thing to be excited for this next year. So yay! At number 2, I have Karate Kid Legends. I am a huge fan of the Karate Kid films. They were one of the first films I remember ever watching all the way back when I was just getting into film. I loved the whole story of Miyagi and Daniel, and you got that whole film. And then you have this 2 sequel films that were okay in their own right. They weren't the best thing that franchise could have ever done, but they were still really enjoyable. And then you had the reboot that they did with Jackie Chan, which was not amazing, but I guess I didn't hate everything in it. And then you had Cobra Kai come out, which was slowly has become one of my favorite TV shows, as it's kind of become this guilty pleasure show that I watch with my family, and we just love seeing the kids, the action. It's just one of our favorite TV shows to watch right now whenever it comes out. And so getting a new Karate Kid film is really, really exciting to see, especially what they can do now that they've kind of found a new footing for the franchise. And this movie, though, doesn't go number one for me because I have some concerns here and there. Like, they're actually canonizing the Jackie Chan film to actually be in the same continuity as the Karate Kid trilogy and the Cobra Kai film. And it seems like this movie's kind of doing its own thing. It's kind of trying to stay out of the Cobra Kai lens, which makes sense seeing as season 5 is still airing. And they have some things that come here and there. Like, there's been some rumors that that Ralph Macchio, who plays Daniel LaRusso, who's going to be in the movie, was only on set for maybe like a week or two, which makes me kind of concerned that maybe he's not in the film that much, which means that it's up to the new characters to carry the film, which if the new characters are good, then I'm all for that. But, a lot of people are coming to this movie to see Daniel LaRusso again. So I don't know. And we don't know a ton of is this movie set after the events of the final season or is this set before? We just don't know enough about this movie for me to really put it number one because I have some concerns, but I'm also really, really excited for the stuff they have confirmed. So this movie takes the number 2 spot. It almost was number 1, but unfortunately the number 1 film is just is one of those films that I'm just a little more excited for. So let's get into it. Taking home number 1 as my most anticipated movie for 2025 is Fantastic Four: First Steps. We have waited, it's been over a decade since we last saw Marvel's First Family on the big screen, and I am so looking forward to this new film even as the Fantastic Four are one of my favorite Marvel characters, families of all. I just loved all of them. And even though the 2005 Tim Story duology and the Fan Four Stick films were maybe not the greatest superhero films of all time, they still hold a very special place in my heart. They were some of the first superhero films that I think I ever watched before I got into the MCU. And as Deadpool and Wolverine confirmed, we still loved those iterations of the characters. I mean, everyone was excited to see Chris Evans show up back again on the big screen, including me, which just shows that even though these characters maybe were not in the best movies, we still loved seeing them again. They hold a special place in our hearts. And from everything they've shown about this movie, they look like Marvel Studios is doing everything right for this film, as they have an amazing cast, as almost a casting that I don't even think I could have picked a better fan cast. Well, maybe I could have for at least Reed Richards, but it's a pretty good cast across the board. They're doing most things practically. They're shooting on location. They're not using Doctor Doom as the main villain, which offers them to tell a brand new story. They're skipping the origin story, and they're setting this in a new universe, so it's not doesn't have to conform to the MCU timeline. And it just looks like everything they're doing for Fantastic Four: First Steps is right. And it doesn't feel like I have any concerns for this movie whatsoever, which is why this movie takes my number 1 spot, because it's one of the few films coming out next year that we know a ton about, and also one of those films that I think I don't have any concerns. So hopefully that trailer comes out soon so that I can confirm my suspicions or confirm my happiness, because this movie has a really good chance to be my favorite film for this next year, but we'll just have to wait and see. So there you guys have it. My picks for my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2025. Like I said, I am planning to see more films than this in 2025. I know that we're getting a new Jurassic World film. There's new animated movies coming out next year, a couple new horror films, other MCU related projects. So, and even the start of the DCU is next year as well. So there's a lot to look forward to in 2025 that I am excited for. But like I said, if I had to narrow it down, these are the 10 films I'm the most excited for. And like I said, at the end of this year, we're going to do this series again, and we'll see if my favorite movies of 2024 list has any of these 10, or if it's a completely new 10, or if it uses maybe a couple. We'll see when we get to the end of the year. So I want to thank you guys all very much for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe down below. And I want to know, what are your top 10 most anticipated movies for 2025? Drop them in the comment section down below and we can get a conversation going. But thank you guys all very much for watching this video, and I can't wait to talk about more of these movies as they come out during the course of 2025. But as it stands right now, thank you guys very much for watching. Hope to see you guys all in the next one. Bye.